Hello, everybody. I hope you're having a good day and welcome to the Europlanet Early Careers podcast. We're taking up this EPEC podcast. We're all renewed with a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of new things for you guys to get involved in. And this is the renewed EPEC podcast episode 1. I am Sara Kadir. I'm a first year PhD student at the University of Trento in Italy. I am currently working at the National Institute of Astrophysics in Napoli, and my project focuses on the composition of the lunar surface, and specifically I am working on detecting of rare earth element minerals on the lunar surface and helping develop the scientific requirements of instrumentations that are under development here at ENAF in Napoli. And today I'm joined by the two co-chairs, the two main pillars of EPEC committee, Nimisha Verma and Tom O'Sullivan, and I'm really happy that they're here to introduce us what EPEC is and what Europlanet is. But before we go in, first of all, Nimisha, welcome to the podcast. Can you please introduce yourself now?
First of all, thank you so much for inviting me. So a little introduction. I am Nimisha. I am a third-year PhD student currently working as part of the MIRTIS team on Vertical mission, officially working with the German Aerospace Center and that is DLR Berlin. And my topic is to use artificial intelligence to study the surface composition of the planet Mercury. And I'm using lab-based measurements to kind of do that. So it's kind of a niche topic, honestly. I don't know how much I can elaborate because of that.
No, that's amazing. I've watched Nimisha work in DLR. She has a lot of very top secret things in her lab that she's not allowed to talk about. So yeah, that's amazing. And next up, we have the other co-chair of EPEC, Tom O'Sullivan.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Sarah. Thanks for starting up the podcast again. I think we're in for a treat. My name is Tom. I'm a third-year PhD student at the Freie Universität Berlin, also in Berlin, in Germany. I work on bodies that are about as far away as you can get from Mercury, the icy moons of the giant planets, Jupiter and Saturn. We look at the subsurface chemistry of these moons. They have global oceans of liquid water, and we investigate spacecraft sampling methods for how to detect that chemistry. I'm working on quantum chemistry, trying to predict fragmentation pathways of molecules in high-speed impacts.
That's perfect. I've been part of Europlanet for the last 3 years, and I think it's safe to say that the co-chairs that we have right now are doing an amazing job with the EPEC and with the EPEC at EPSC and the annual week. It's been, I think, a tremendous period of change and renewal of a lot of new things. So, first of all, my first question that I want to ask you guys is, what is Europlanet and what exactly is EPEC? Nimisha, do you want to take the reins on this one?
Sure, I actually read on it, so I can actually go ahead. Yeah, so Europlanet is actually it's a society. It's a society built by people from the planetary science community and astronomy community to kind of provide resources to each other, collaborate, and expand on the knowledge we have and research on different bodies of the planetary system and beyond, obviously with exoplanets, with stars, with universe itself. Like this, they have different networks that you can use with resources. Europlanet was established more than 20 years ago, and since 2019, they are officially a society bringing all the different senior, early careers, mid-career scientists together to create a platform to exchange ideas. And also one of the biggest conferences are led by Europlanet, which is EPSC in
Right.
London. So yeah, it's a society for us to come together and kind of just build science.
That's perfect. And Tom, do you want to add on about what EPEC is?
Absolutely, yeah. So EPEC is the Europlanet's early career network. This has existed in some form since 2014. It was set up by Elena Nowak. And over the years has developed and become a really integrated part of Europlanet and Europlanet structure. Today, we host activities all year round, but we focus mainly on two events, which is EPEC Annual Week. It's a small conference setting designed to give early career participants a taste of their first academic conference, a taste of science across the whole spectrum of research, a taste of industry. And that moves around every year as well, so a taste of some local culture. We also have a program of events that runs alongside EPSC, as Nimisha mentioned. These are everything from workshops to social events to panels to flash presentations. So it's really a broad range of activities for anyone who's in early career. And who is an early career, you might ask? Well, under our definition, an early career is anybody who completed their most recent degree less than 7 years ago. So it's a big catchment range, and we think it's important to have that conversation and that network across several different career stages. And that's what EPEC is really all about.
That's perfect. I'm so glad that you brought up the EPEC Annual Week, because that was my first intro to Europlanet as well. I attended the EPEC Annual Week in Padua in 2024. I remember finding out what this community is about, and since then my worldview has changed completely. But yeah, I think EPEC Annual Week is a very nice intro to what EPEC stands for, especially for early careers and the type of network it gives everybody, right? And that's kind of where my next question comes from now. So how did you guys find out about EPEC or Europlanet, and how did you get into EPEC? How does one get into the community, let's say? Tom?
Absolutely. So I think for a lot of cases, it's coming along to an event for the first time. So my first EPSC, I was still a master's student, was in Granada in Spain in 2022. It was the first one after COVID. And it was fantastic. And I had no idea about EPEC before. And I went to the EPEC General Assembly, which is an overview of the activities of that year, an overview of the organisation. And since then, I've been involved in some form, a little bit more loosely until a couple of years ago when I started my PhD. EPSC was in Berlin, was at home that year. So I was there, the whole week, all the time, interacting with the team, getting to know everybody, and signed up to join planning for the next year. The next year was in Helsinki for EPSC. And there, it was when I decided to apply for the open co-chair position, which was left vacant by Jesse Hogan, who left after some fantastic years in charge. And I was selected, and then for the last 10 months or so, I've been the co-chair alongside Nimisha.
Amazing. That's a great trajectory, honestly. As soon as COVID stopped, you were like, this is my time to shine, and you just went ahead with it. And Nimisha, tell us how you became the co-chair now.
It's an interesting journey, actually. So I first came in contact with Europlanet and EPEC because I was looking to get into planetary science. And I found out about the mentoring program that Europlanet has, and I kind of applied to it, and I got to know about EPEC there. But there was a lot of open positions around that time because it was the restructuring period that EPEC was going through. It was around 22, 23. And I saw the open positions, and I have this thing where I'm like, I see an open position, I'm like, oh, I can apply for it. And I sent them an email saying, oh, yeah, I saw this position. And do you think it would be something I can do because I'm interested? And I didn't get a reply. I was like a bit sad. I was like, oh my God, there's nothing happening. And then I joined my PhD, and eventually because of that, I joined the organizing team for the EPSC Berlin, because of which I got in touch with EPEC at EPSC specifically. And we organized a lot of events together. And during that time, I kind of got involved so much in Europlanet. Somehow I got to know everybody, which was an interesting trajectory for me personally, because I was in first year of my PhD. And then I was meeting all these people who have been in planetary science. And it was such an amazing experience. And it was during that time that I was very interested in either applying for EPEC at EPSC co-chair position or EPEC co-chair position, which was kind of both opening at the same time. And Jesse I discussed this with Jesse, like, hey, do you think because I'm interested, do you think it will be open sometime? So I got in touch with Jesse and Callum, and I was like, oh, I will be very interested. And they were very enthusiastic about it. So somehow I was just placed at the right place at the right time, I guess. And I was just very happy about the whole thing. So I applied and I got selected there.
That's amazing. And I think that's one of the most important aspects of EPEC. People are always so happy to welcome you in, especially with EPEC, since it's not a huge community yet. people are still very, very interested in helping one-on-one. It's really amazing, honestly. Like for me as well, when I attended EPEC Annual Week in Padua, and that's where I met Nimisha for the first time. And we were doing a group project together. And Nimisha was like, hey, do you want to join EPEC Annual Week organizing committee next year? And I was like, yeah, sure. Why not? So that's how we're here. Yeah, that's something that I really love about the community, how people are always interested in welcoming you in. And a lot of people now ask me, like, how do you become part of EPEC? How do you become part of Europlanet? And the one answer I give them is just email Nimisha or Tom right now. Just email, and then they'll let you know step by step. But this actual question goes to both of you now. Like, how do you become part of EPEC? Or how do you become part of Europlanet? Nimisha, tell us this.
That's a very interesting question, because throughout my journey, I think the one thing that people have actually asked me is how to get involved. And I would tell them that, oh, you can get involved in these activities, or you can get involved in this event or something. But the one thing that I always highlight for people, because not everybody wants to lead an activity or an event. So I always tell everybody that even if you just attend the event as a participant, that means that you're participating in EPEC, It's an event organized by EPEC people. So if you take part, you're part of an EPEC community, and you get all access to the resources. So to be honest, I think to be involved in EPEC, you can be involved as a co-chair, obviously, because every year one of the co-chair kind of moves away from the position, because it's a 2-year position. You can get it extended, but it's a 2-year position. You can get involved as lead of an event. You can be part of the communication team that we have now, the communication team focusing on creating promotional material and putting it on social media. You can also be involved as a volunteer if you want to take part in any of the events, just by helping it out in one way or the other, or just activity. You can also lead your own activity. But most importantly, you can just be involved in EPEC as a participant. If you see an event that we are organizing, just take part, apply for it, be part of it, give us feedback on how we can improve it. Yeah, that's the EPEC community. It's for early careers by early careers.
Perfect. I think that slogan really captures the whole thing. It's by early careers for early careers. It's really cool. Tom, do you have anything else to add?
I would say that, as Nimisha describes, you can be as involved as you like with EPEC. There is no fixed commitment. There is no expectation on you to come along to every event. You can do what you want to do when you want to do it most of the time. And I think that's really what it's all about. It's an early career network. So it's not about adding yet another item to your workload. It's about something that should be fun, should keep you connected with your peers around the continent and beyond. I'd also say that with regards to running your own event, we're always open to ideas. There's each year from Europlanet a small pool of funding that's available for that. So if your idea needs some money to get off the ground, which typically it does, you can do it through us. You can come to us, we can help you put a proposal together, and we can submit that to the call each year.
Perfect. And I do want to talk more about the funding, but before that, I want to know about the different groups within EPEC. Like, what are the different communities that are working within EPEC, and what are you working towards? Can you take us through this workflow of the communities within EPEC?
Yeah, absolutely. So EPEC is led, of course, by the 2 co-chairs. We meet with occasionally the executive office of Europlanet, and we also have an early career representative on the board of Europlanet, which is Grace Richards at the moment. From there, sort of downwards, we have sort of an integrated structure. So we have different teams that come under the umbrella, all of which are sort of coordinated by the co-chairs. So rather than having decentralized working groups, it all sort of comes back to the co-chairs for the sake of consistency. So we have within that a communications team. They run our social media, create our graphics for posts. They keep our section of the Europlanet website up to date. They write articles for the newsletter. And we also have, of course, then the podcast, which clearly, if you're listening, you know all about. And the Inspiring Stories section, which we're also kicking off again soon, which is a feature over a certain period of time about interesting stories from the community. And that's, I think, largely it. I think
there's the events group as well that we have. So we have 2 events group, which is mostly EPEC at EPSC, led by 2 co-chairs. And then we have the annual EPEC Annual Week. This year it was led by Gabriel Menard, and then next year hopefully it will be led by someone already in the team. But the announcement will come later on. And then beyond that, we also have other activities and events which we are planning right now.
Yeah, that's perfect. And again, I think I want to emphasize this a bit more. You don't really have to choose what team you want to be a part of when you decide to become part of EPEC. You can just email Nimisha and Tom and just tell them that you're interested, and they will find you a good spot where you will fit in perfectly. That's kind of how I came in to do the podcast here. So now going back to the funding part. So how exactly does this funding work, and what is this funding for, and how can early careers who are not yet part of EPEC or Europlanet apply for it? Nimisha, do you want to take us through it?
Okay, so there are different kind of funding opportunities available for EPEC, specifically for early careers within Europlanet. However, most of it is through Europlanet membership. Like we have a committee funding, Europlanet committee funding, where every body of Europlanet can apply via their members. So this year we applied with 3 proposals to the Europlanet committee funding, and we got one approved, which is the summer school, the machine learning summer school that will be happening in September in Bulgaria. So that was through the Europlanet committee funding that we submitted as EPEC. That's one way. The other way that you can actually, as an early career, enjoy the funding from Europlanet is to apply for Annual Week. So Annual Week has its own funding structure that is separate, that is part of EPEC, but as a separate entity. And if you do get selected for attending the Annual Week, your accommodation is free. So you don't have to pay for your accommodation. Completely funded by Europlanet. You also get the social dinner funded by Europlanet. That's part of the funding scheme that we have for EPEC. And apart from that, EPEC also has its own budget. It's not a very big budget, but we are able to cater to small things. Like, for example, all the goodies that you get during EPEC at EPSC is actually funded by EPEC itself. Beyond that, there's also on Europlanet level, there are some resources available, like the transnational access, which is access to different labs across Europe, across the world, actually, not just Europe, across the world. We have access to labs in South Korea, for example, which early careers can apply and go, which will be completely funded by Europlanet. So that's a transnational access that you have. It's an early career that you have an opportunity to apply. But then again, that is restricted to people who are already a member. But I would like to emphasize here that the membership for Europlanet as an individual member is not expensive. If you're from an underrepresented state, and the list is on the website itself, you have like a €15 membership fee, and then from general states, it's €25 for early careers. These are for early careers, and as Tom already said, early careers like a really long time, so you kind of don't have to worry that you will be spending too much. And then €25 is like per year, so it's not that much for the facilities that you will be getting from Europlanet. So I think it kind of makes sense from my point of view, given how many facilities you get access at the Europlanet level, being part of EPEC as well.
Right, but do you also have to pay the membership fee to be a part of EPEC?
No, if you are part of Europlanet, then and you select early career, you're automatically part of the early career network.
Perfect. And for Tom, I have another question regarding the events that we were talking about. So what are the events that Europlanet hosts that EPEC has a part in that volunteers can join and work together with? Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So as we've mentioned a little bit earlier, we have 2 main events that occur annually, and then we have new exceptional ones for the first time this year, the machine learning workshop. So I'll start with Annual Week. So as I mentioned, Annual Week moves around each year. It's typically hosted and organised by a different team each year, although members of the team tend to stick around, which is very nice. So as we mentioned, this year it was in Nantes in northern France, and that is open to anyone who is involved as a member of EPEC. So we put out a call a few months before the event, and people are invited to apply. They submit a SEV, small letter, And then it's selected from that list. Now, it is, these days, quite a competitive event. We have a lot of applications. The last couple of years, it's been almost double the available spaces. So we do have to put in a selection procedure. But it gives you access to a wonderful event, to a wonderful community, to a program of science talks and workshops, of local excursions and sort of immersion in the local cultures. And really, it's a wonderful feel. Even in Nantes a couple of weeks ago, where it briefly became, of course, the hottest place in Europe whilst we were there. That could only happen to us. And we still had a brilliant week. I think everyone that went had a thoroughly good time. The other annual event that we run is the EPEC at EPSC. So this is the program of events that runs alongside the main Central EPSC conference. Again, changes location each year. Now, I can tell you about this year, for example. We'll be in The Hague in the Netherlands from the 6th to the 11th of September. And once again, we've got a full program of events. So we start the week in The Hague with collaboration with our friends over at Astrobiology Graduates in Europe, or AbGrad-E. And this will be, once again, a sort of networking session at the beginning, a sort of speed sciencing icebreaker before we move in to an early career symposium. The idea of that is that it gives early career presenters a chance to practice their presentation skills, perhaps before giving one later in the conference. In a very relaxed setting, we kick all of the senior people out of the room, and it's really just a really nice environment for early careers to practice presenting. As we move through the week, this time we'll have several panel discussions at EPSC with representatives from the European Space Agency, from industry. We'll have a social event, which is a networking event between all the different early careers that come to EPSC in a local bar. We'll have a pub quiz. This will be an event where early careers are encouraged to partner up with senior researchers who come to this event. So that there'll be in mixed teams. It's another good chance to network with more senior people. We will have the Science Flash, which returns this year with a new look, the Science Roulette. So you'll make a slide deck, three slides, a very short presentation, and that will be given to somebody else at random, and they'll have to present your work, and vice versa. You will present somebody else's work, and there's some quite good prizes up for grabs there. I won't spoil what it is, but there's some really nice prizes from that. We'll also have the EPEC General Assembly, as we always do. That's a summary of EPEC's events throughout the year. I think that's everything at EPSC, unless I'm missing one off the list. There's also a mentoring program, actually, that runs alongside. So early careers are partnered up with a more senior researcher. They can be sort of shown how to navigate a conference and deal with the challenges that comes with that. It can be quite overwhelming, because EPSC is now the largest planetary science conference in Europe, arguably the world, depending on your definition. So yeah, it's a busy time. So it can be quite daunting. So we've got the mentoring program in place for that.
That's perfect. I think that's a very great rundown of all of the events with EPEC and Europlanet. EPSC is the Europlanet Science Congress, which, as Tom pointed out, is the biggest planetary science conference in Europe. Anybody who's anybody in the world of planetary science is going to be there. And if you're an early career, and if it's your first congress that you're attending, or if you want to know more about it, or if you want like a friend group already in the conference so you don't feel weirded out, you can just go to the EPEC booth and hang out with the volunteers there, and voila, you already have a network now. And yeah, I think that's a great point to end the podcast on. So, final words from both of the co-chairs. Nimisha, tell us, what would you tell somebody to encourage them to join EPEC or Europlanet?
So, for me to say why, if you want to join EPEC or not in any form or any part, is if you have ever felt lonely, if you have ever felt like you're just like don't know what to do and where you want to land and everything. So if you felt like that coming into planetary science community, if you have ever felt like you don't know where you have to go, you don't know whom you have to talk about or to talk to, or if you feel like you don't really belong anywhere, EPEC is your solution. Because telling you, as an early career who has joined planetary science probably like 4 or 5 years ago, I was completely lost at the start as well. So EPEC was an amazing start, an amazing journey for me to actually know and learn more about the planetary science. And if you just have just 1 second of thought in your mind, like, oh, should I join EPEC, then you definitely should come to our booth and talk to us during EPSC, or in general, just reach out to us on social media or email or Discord, anywhere that you feel like you are comfortable.
That's perfect. And Tom, what are your final words?
Yeah, I would just say it's a similar tone to Nimisha, that EPEC is what you make of it. If you put something in, you'll get a lot back. So it's really a fantastic springboard, not only for your career, but also for your personal life. You make people, you make friends. It's really a wonderful community to be part of. And again, as Nimisha says, we put on these events, but they're done by a lot of people. So the individual workload is really, really not that much. And so you'll always have support. You'll always have people working alongside you. And so we'd really love to see you there. It's a community that continues to grow each year. It's really fantastic. And yeah, I couldn't be more grateful for everything that EPEC has done for me personally. So if that doesn't encourage you to apply and to join, I don't know what will.
That's perfect. Yeah, I do think EPEC is definitely one of those things that keeps on giving really good stuff, honestly. And yeah, that's a great point to wrap this episode up, I think. Thank you so much, Nimisha and Tom, for coming on this first episode to revamp the EPEC podcast. This only felt absolutely right to start with you guys again. For the people listening, I hope you've learned a lot about EPEC, a lot about Europlanet, and you're already looking for Nimisha and Tom's email addresses to email them to join EPEC if you haven't already. And for our next episode, we'll be talking a bit more about the EPEC annual week that just happened in Nantes. We'll be talking to the organizing committee people and the volunteers, and you'll get more insights on how the event went in so you can apply for the next year's EPEC annual week. And once again, Nimisha and Tom, thank you so much for everything that you do with EPEC. Thank you so much for being amazing co-chairs and really making EPEC what it is. And with that, I think it's time to say goodbye.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sarah, for kicking off restarting the podcast. I mean, that is something that I personally have always wanted to have a podcast, but I'd never had the courage to actually take it up. But to see someone who's taking up, who's doing so much, and honestly, everybody that is part of the EPEC community is so amazing. I think it's not just it. We are doing a good job because we have people like you in the team to lead the team as well. So we are able to do the good job.
Perfect. I think I'd like to say I learned it from the best, the both of you, on how to lead and how to take up initiatives. And with that, it's really time to wrap up the first episode now. And as always, you guys, ad astra per aspera. See you in the next episode. Ciao, ciao.